So let's try to understand how Hitchcock related to soundtrack and to film music. Of course, very short essay, lesson, whatever you call it, or video or entertainment. If you want to learn more about this, you need to dive deep. You need to join the new membership of the channel. Ha ha ha! Now people will get angry. Yes, you don't have access to 400 videos anymore. I don't care, you don't care, so I don't care. And my people at the conservatory, they care. So when I say something, they pay a lot of attention. So it's your problem. But here I have some faithful subscribers who comment frequently. However, I decided to gatekeep the part of my content that really has a professional impact in your development. Okay, so some people, they take for granted because I have a very informal type, so I don't like to be bossy and to make too big what I say sometimes. So this is the problem. And on YouTube I have to be more friendly, let's say, and less heavy German heavy abstract theory and fatal heavy antipathetic. So we have to be a little bit entertaining still. So the Alfred Hitchcock, he approached the music actually in a very interesting way. So I will let the video play, and so actually very counterintuitive.
It's 5 hours.
Oh, thanks. Actually very counterintuitive. Okay, so he prioritized the psychological impact and the narrative control. Okay, and not so much the traditional scoring conventions for that time. So the Hitchcock, he viewed the music not as a simple accompaniment, but as an integral narrative and psychological tool. And this was here's the deep invention, let's say, very so closer. So the Noir style is a very psychological thing. So Hitchcock goes in a gray zone between the Noir style and the horror, but I would say it's more horror, Noir than horror, because he's very psychological and it's very realistic. Okay, so but some people say that the film noir is not a genre, but it is a framework. Anyways, when you watch these Hitchcock scenes, it looks like the foreshadow of Batman. No, it's fantastic. So okay, so he viewed the music not as a simple accompaniment. So it was a very psychological use of music. So the manipulation of the audience, psychological manipulation of the audience. Okay, so. And a very powerful technique of Hitchcock was the strategic use of the silence, but absolute silence, so breaking silence. This movie that is playing is Rebecca, so I have to be a little bit direct here because otherwise I will never upload a video. So it is a little bit random, the video, okay? And the reason for this is to protect the copyright madness that affects the channel if I don't pay attention with copyright and such things. So his most famous film is of course Psycho, not Rebecca. And so in moments of extreme tension or violence, so like the famous shower scene in Psycho, where we have this violin stabs that alone deserves a whole lesson. So in these moments he would strip away from the score entirely. So this forced the audience to confront a more visceral sound of the scene, a raw visceral sound. This makes the horror more immediate and also more intense, more than any orchestral swell, like a very loud Hirschschaus type of swell. So he brings the reduction of the elements. So he uses the subtraction to his favor. Now, how much of Hitchcock or of Bernard Herrmann we have there? I would have to research more about this. Okay. However, I think if you look at the face of Hitchcock, you can already understand that this guy was not kidding, no? So I think he was a director in a very monistic, authoritarian sense, let's say. Not authoritarian, but with authority. Okay, so for filmmakers and also developers, game developers or whatever, this is a very interesting lesson. Also to maximize the impact of these jump scares or moments of revelation in the movie, preceding then with a very deep and visceral silence. So after the visceral silence, he breaks it with a very critical diegetic sound. So diegetic sound, so like the footstep, shower sound, hair dryer sound. So in the Hitchcock world, even a hair dryer or whatever the mechanic electro device sounds scary because of the way that is related to musical sound, psychological. So actually he co-composes. So there's the composer and there's the co-composer. Or the film composer is also the co-director in this sense. So Bernard Herrmann, by the way, he spoke about the silence. Okay, this is another lesson to understand. So that there is material of Bernard Herrmann explaining in his perspective how he approached the silence. So very interesting thing. So to observe how the silence in the movies of Hitchcock is employed. So try to analyze. So watch, download the movie, put this on Logic Pro and do an analysis. Okay, so this is what we do in my private lessons, because there I can do many things without the copyright problems. And here, if I dive into sound, suddenly I want to go into a Netflix stuff, and then I am not allowed to play the Netflix madness, etc. Because how could I avoid to mention such a beautiful, heartbreaking Netflix productions, no? So like the one made for kids, okay, if you know what I'm talking about. So anyways, beyond silence, the Hitchcock, he demanded that the music function psychological as a whole. So the score was often employed to track characters' internal anxiety, okay, or also to foreshadow some danger, some unseen danger, and not simply mirroring the on-screen action. Okay. So the work of the Bernard Herrmann was very perfect for this. So he knew how to make an obsessive type of musical score that, by the way, has an important connection to Shostakovich. So the idea of obsession is in itself a it's in itself let's say a leitmotif. It's the hermeneutic key. Okay, so the concept of obsession in Shostakovich is the hermeneutic key. So it's the key to understanding. In many times, it looks that what Shostakovich was trying to express was a kind of anxious obsession. Okay. I have a video example of Shostakovich that highlights this very well. And the Bernard Herrmann also liked these repetitive motifs, so the unresolved dissonance, of course. So they generate a mood of instability. So, as it is clear in Vertigo, but Vertigo has the ambiguity. This is the beautiful thing with Vertigo. It is almost a melancholic noir, let's say. It has a tonal quality. It has a pathos quality. It has an emotional quality, more prominent. So this scene, for example, it's very like Batman. So Batman animation series, of course, the masterpiece. You see things like this. So a very big painting. And the Batman very small. So here this could be the bat cave, bat house. See, very, very, very in the same direction. Of course, the Shirley Walker was not far away from the Bernard Herrmann, also in the side of the soundtrack for Batman. Now, the Hitchcock has another side actually. So he was an advocate for the ironic score, so the irony. So he could use the music that was kind of tonally inappropriate. Okay, so a cheerful melody, so light, childlike melody. And the strategy here is the contrast. So he used this to accompany a dark and suspicious moment. Okay, there is a movie now. Now you will remember for me the scene. But this is with the M. It is the M. It is the Fritz Lang. So it's actually this. Perhaps we should say it's not only a technique of Hitchcock, but of the Noir and the Expressionist era. So the film M with the Peter Lorre, so it's a fascinating film. So by the way, I don't watch all the films of the world, but I watched some very important masterpiece. And the M. There is a very, very beautiful scene where with a child. Let's see if I find this. So let's do randomly. Let's see. I hope I find this scene. So let's see the trailer. By the way, alone here, if you observe, this is already absolutely shocking for today's standard. So first of all, the length of this take, the silence and lack of action in this trailer, and so the lack of soundtrack here. So it's almost suffocating. It's almost suffocating. So it's fascinating. And what happens is that this shows that the use of silence, we could argue, is not something specific of Hitchcock. Okay, so this is Fritz Lang, what in my opinion, the true master. So this is 1931. So in my opinion, the true master is Fritz Lang. So of course he did so Metropolis and Nibelungen. So perhaps we could say that here's the canon of this type of technique, and not in Hitchcock movies. However, with Hitchcock, this became more prominent, let's say. And because Bernard Herrmann was not he's not associated to Fritz Lang, but to Hitchcock, and Bernard Herrmann itself is a star. So the music here, this was Grieg, the Half the Mountain King, okay. Oops. Okay, so the Half the Mountain King. And what happens here is that this is not by chance. So the Half the Mountain King, it's something like monstrous. It is epic, it is fantastic, it is huge, but also it is a kind of musical joke because of the musical form. Because the musical form is actually absurd. Okay, and then this absurd connects very well with this atmosphere. So the way that he breaks the silence with the Half the Mountain King whistle, it's a very subtle move. And I love this. So everything that they talk, everything that Fritz Lang take away from you with this emptiness here, he gives back with the whistle part as a full a full experience of musical meaning, and then of course cinematic meaning. So it is threatening, but somehow fun. But fun in the sense of Halloween fun, okay? It's sadistically fun. And it's a very perfect music for precipitation. No, it is about it is a threatening music exactly because of the precipitation. So things get louder and faster. It starts like a joke, or better say something more or less innocent or harmless, and then it starts to be a tsunami.
Aber Kind, das sollst du doch nicht. Du weißt doch warum.
Du weißt doch warum. So this was the child scene. So I was absolutely correct. My memory didn't fail. So very cool, no? So who would do something like this, no? Like such a very subtle type of soundtrack. So the whole soundtrack there was the whistling, okay? So it was about the lack, okay? So I think this shows the power of silence in this genre and shows a very powerful technique to use it properly. So this helps us understand the use of silence in soundtrack, when to start and when to stop. That's a more broader and complexer topic. Okay, so if you want to learn more about this, reach out. And on Patreon, I am selling lessons as products, like 3 lessons in one topic. This is perfect for the more professional film composers who want to dive deep in some topics. So like 3 lessons in improvisation, for example. This week, the next week, and another week, with a video, a recorded video, and as a support, and this might help you like refresh your technique with another teacher like me. And if you are in a jig or something like this, it might give you another perspective, other practicing ideas, principally in the field of improvisation. And also we are going to do a lot of film analysis, okay, principally with the copyrighted material of more modern movies, okay?
Schau mal, wie reizend. Ich werde dir ein bisschen helfen.
Und ich möchte was trinken.
Wirst du nicht frieren in dem Ding?
Schwitzen werde ich. Das ist reine Wolle, mein Junge.
Verzeihung, Sir, Sie haben Ihr Gewicht vergessen.
Ich bin's, Beatrice. Ich möchte dich mal ansehen.
Nein, bitte bleib draußen. Ich möchte nicht, dass jemand mein Kostüm vorher sieht.
Oh. Aber komm nicht zu spät runter. Du musst doch mit Maxim zusammen die Gäste begrüßen.
Gehört die Blume auch dahin?
Ja, auf dem Bild war da auch einer.
Ah, ich bin so aufgeregt.
Ich auch. Ich habe schon so viel gehört von den Gästen im Schloss. Und jetzt bin ich sogar mit dabei. Sie sind bestimmt die schönste von allen, Madame.
Ja, glauben Sie wirklich? Wo ist mein Becher?
Hier.
Hoffentlich haben wir auch nichts vergessen, Clarice.
Nein, bestimmt nicht. Sie sehen bezaubernd aus.
Ja, ich muss runter. Schnell, Clarice.
Ich wette, Lady Crown kommt wieder als Seejungfrau.
Guten Abend, Mr. de Wind.
Was ist denn das nun wieder für eine Geschmacklosigkeit?
Rebecca. Mein Kleid ist ja nur eine Kopie von Lady Carolines Kleid. Was ist? Was habe ich denn getan?
Geh sofort rauf. Mir ist gleich, was du anziehst, aber zieh dich um. Worauf wartest du noch? Hast du mich nicht verstanden?
Sir George und Lady Moore, Third Lieutenant, Admiral und Lady Burbank.
sah sie hinuntergehen, wie vor einem Jahr Rebecca. Aber Sie können sich nicht mit ihr messen.
Sie wussten es. Sie wussten, dass es ihr Kleid war. Und trotzdem haben Sie mich überredet, es zu tragen. Warum hassen Sie mich so? Was habe ich Ihnen getan, dass Sie mich so hassen?
Weil Sie versucht haben, sie zu verdrängen. Aber ich sehe, wie er leidet. Er vergisst sie nicht. Er kommt nicht hinweg über ihren Tod. Ich höre noch, wie er Nacht für Nacht in seinem Zimmer auf und ab lief. Nacht für Nacht, weil er keine Ruhe finden konnte, weil er es nicht fassen konnte, dass er sie verloren hatte.
Nein, nein, ich will es nicht hören. Ich will es nicht hören.
Sie wollen Mrs. de Winter sein, in Ihrem Haus leben. Sie wollen sie nachahmen und sie bestehlen. Aber ich warne Sie vor ihr. Sie wird sie vernichten. Sie wird über sie triumphieren, weil sie stärker ist als Sie. Nur einem ist sie unterlegen. Aber das war kein Mann und keine Frau. Das war die See.
Hören Sie doch auf. Bitte, hören Sie doch auf.
Fühlen Sie sich nicht wohl, Madame? Ich habe das Fenster für Sie geöffnet. Es wird Ihnen sicher gut tun. Was wollen Sie noch hier? Was haben Sie noch zu erwarten? Sie stören ihn nur. Er will wieder mit ihr allein sein. Sie haben ihm Rebecca nicht wegnehmen können. Sie haben ihn verloren. Sie haben nichts, wofür Sie leben können. Schauen Sie hinunter. Es ist doch ganz einfach. Es tut gar nicht weh. Warum springen Sie nicht hinunter? Sie brauchen sich nicht zu fürchten. Es geht ganz schnell. Kommen Sie. Tun Sie es. Springen Sie hinunter.
Ein Schiff ist über Buchtenstrand ins Lauf gelaufen. Alle Mann runter am Strand. Schiff in See!
Maxim! Maxim!
Oh, die Hauptpolizei!
Die Boot Schabole runter! Maxim! Maxim!
Haben Sie Mr. de Winter irgendwo gesehen?
Ja, mir glaubt, sie kommt nicht wieder. Jetzt kommt sie doch.
Wen meinen Sie denn?
Ah, die Frau unten im Wasser.